Welcome to the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell, and Justin Bowerly.
Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and tonight we have a jam-packed show. We are changing the format a little bit, so if you're used to the one-topic show, that's going out the window. We have ourselves a little trade, keep, bench, cut, whatever you want to call it, session. We have a little ADP check, and I think we're going to go through some bold predictions. I know, a little too early. I know it's June, right? But we do have to throw these bold predictions out. We got to plant our flag. We got to pound the table. But before we get into the show, let me introduce my co-host, my producer, the man who makes it all possible, Justin Bowerly. What's going on, Justin?
What's up?
I'm hyped. Why aren't you hyped? Why aren't you matching my energy tonight? We have a guest. We have predictions. You tried to throw out some scenario in our group chat, and I'm like, listen, homie,
You guys hate a lot for not doing anything.
Whoa.
You guys do a lot.
Whoa.
What am I talking about? Whoa.
Now, you can say that about Dave all you want. That's fine. And lately, you can throw that on me too as well. But I'm here for the show. I prepare. I had my notes. I got my research. I wasn't told I was going to be – listen, I'm not here to book guests. I'm not here to make graphics. I am the star. I am the face of the show.
You know what would be really great, especially before the shows, is to make sure that you're using the right microphone, because you're definitely not. So this show could be a little raw, guys. I'm just going to say this is definitely going to be a raw episode. Josh is starting off without his microphone on. I just realized I don't have a layout for a 3 camera. I have a 1, 2, and a 4. So I'm going to have to edit that live when we're bringing in our guest. When our guest is here, he's running a little bit late too. So things are going to be raw. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great.
The microphone. Listen, I just want to let everyone know before we continue. This happens to my computer all the time.
Every week.
I check it and it's good to go. And my mic, everything's good to go. And then once we go live, it all goes. Thanks, StreamYard. Instead of fixing your problems and on the back end, please fix this problem as well, because I've about had enough.
This is a you problem, man.
No, this is a StreamYard problem. Should we tease our guest?
I mean, it says it below with Chris Allen. We'll talk about him when he gets.
I'm not a good reader. I don't know if you. I'm not good at reading.
We know,
but I do my best. So is there any news?
Florida education.
Florida is no education. Is there any good news?
Biggest news of the week: Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, and the other guy. Somebody else got a contract extension. Who was that?
The other guy. He must not be
Jalen
that
Waddle.
important.
Jalen Waddle.
Okay. All right.
All 3 got new contract extensions. So that's cool.
That's cool.
Colts apparently were trying to trade for Justin Jefferson over the offseason, apparently. And apparently now the 49ers were too. So
let's be honest. Why wouldn't you? If you're a team in the NFL, why wouldn't you try to upgrade? There's no other receiver better than Justin Jefferson.
Try to shoot your shot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, do you go to the bar when you're single and not married? Do you go to the bar and go for like, hey, let me go for the 4? Or do you go for the 10 and then work your way down? You go to the 10 and work your way down. At least I did. I had never achieved perfection, but stay in that 6, 8 range, 8 on a good night.
And then you leave free agency with nothing.
Normally that's how it goes, but it is what it is. Hey, we made some trades. I made some trades this week before we get into the big time news. The big time segments. I made some trades. I traded for Jalen Waddle. I sent you that. I don't know if you downloaded it, saved it, PDF'd it, Excel'd, spreadsheeted it. I don't know what that means, but I traded for Jalen Waddle, and I gave up George Pickens, and I gave up your boy Travis Etienne to Dirtbag Dave, who's not on this show right now. I'm getting mixed signals. People are telling me I overpaid for Jalen Waddle, and this goes into the contract extension. I didn't want to talk about that. We know Jalen Waddle was locked up with Tua. We don't know if Tua is there for good. So we know he's locked up there as well in Miami. That being said, I gave up Etienne, who's a running back, who's always a risk, high volatility position, always turnover, he could be gone next year. We just never know with the running back position. And George Pickens, who's a huge question mark, who, if you listen to the last show we had, we talked about points per game median. George Pickens is a great candidate for that because he's got a lot of low games and a lot of boom games. And I'm okay with dealing with him. Justin, your thoughts on it?
On George Pickens?
On the trade in
on
general.
your trade. Yeah, I know what you're talking. I was trying to look at trades that were offered to me this week that I rejected. I didn't hate it. Like if you really think Waddle is the guy, and a lot of people say Waddle is the best wide receiver too, on teams this year, cool. I know Dave is really big into ETN, so he is going for ETN as much as possible. Him getting Pickens now explains why he was trashing Pickens in the group chat earlier today, because apparently he sucks. So I didn't hate it. I'd rather have Waddle over Pickens though. So
yeah, I mean, that's one of the best player in the deal. That's just the way I like to trade. Now, we made a trade, Justin. I know people are interested, but this is the way, fantasy people talk during the offseason.
the
We
way
make
this
trades.
segment goes. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So we made a little trade, like a little trade.
Little, like not starting players. Little.
Yeah, it was Elijah Moore for your
Who
favorite
you
running
don't
back.
you don't even have in your top 60 rankings, by the way.
Yeah, of
I
course
went
I
and
don't.
looked at our rankings.
Yeah, why would I? Honestly, why would I? Why would I have him ranked? Like,
It's like wide receiver 3 for the Browns. Like,
is he wide receiver 3?
no, I think he might be 2 actually.
I mean, Njoku might be the number 2 target there, while Amari
Yeah,
Cooper
Njoku is
Corpse
kind of
still
like
there.
Ingram, like Evan
Yeah.
Ingram. Like he gets a lot of targets.
Yeah, and if we go back in the past, we know Deshaun Watson likes to target those tight ends, so that wasn't a fluke. That's just something that's going to happen. Now, Elijah Moore, he showed flashes in New York. He had that really, really good stretch, then just fell off the face of the planet when Garrett Wilson was drafted. And then he was traded, moved over, backed into by a bus, and then dug up back alive when he went to Cleveland. So hopefully he can do well. You traded for that rookie running back in Los Angeles.
Kimani Vidal.
Yeah. Talk about him.
Yeah. Well, you see, I'm really stacked at wide receiver on that team. So naturally, I was going to trade away somebody that's just sitting on my bench, and in turn, I got somebody that was, who I think is a sleeper pick. I mean, he's probably not going to get used this year, but he has the path to becoming a starting running back for the Chargers. They didn't draft him for no reason. Sitting in front of him, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins. So the Ravens backfield from last year. Isaiah Spiller is still there. Isaiah Spiller is still young. They're both 22, so I could see both of them trying to compete by the end of the season for that RB1 position, because we know J.K. Dobbins doesn't stay healthy and Gus Edwards doesn't always stay healthy. So Vidal might be the new running back for the Chargers here in the future, and we know Jim Harbaugh really likes to run the ball, so that he could be used. So I took the shot on him. It's a dynasty league. Again, I have plenty of wide receivers: Justin Jefferson, Marvin Harrison, Cooper Kupp, Tank Dell,
I mean, do we have to brag
and
about
more
it?
guys on my bench. So I was fine with getting rid of Elijah.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with getting rid of a 4th round rookie running back, but he has potential. So I think you have a higher floor with this trade, where me, I'm like, I needed a receiver, and honestly,
You get somebody that could produce for you right now, which is what your team needed. I got somebody that could produce for me in the future when all my old guys retire. So, which
yep.
is what I needed. So I think the trade worked out for both of us.
I'm surprised you snap accepted it. If I were you, I would have countered with the 3rd.
Well,
I
you
would've.
see, I thought about it for a while, and I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't care about draft picks in
Whatever.
that league anyway. So
Yeah, whatever.
Can I talk about a trade offer I got?
Yeah, let's do it.
It wasn't a Jacob Mummert trade.
Was it from Alex Balsamo?
No, this is a guy from the same league. Just for giggles, I threw Justin Jefferson on the trade block. It was not serious. I got a lot of offers, actually. Justin Jefferson, and this guy says this is a serious trade offer, and it was fair. He offered me Michael Thomas, Chase Edmonds, and a 2nd round pick.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe if it was 2017 or 19,
And Justin Jefferson was like in high school.
Yeah, maybe it was a Devy league, and you're like, yeah, I need Michael Thomas in his prime years. I can't believe Michael Thomas is involved. Listen, I don't believe Michael Thomas has been traded or involved in any trades in the past year.
He sent like probably the biggest Michael Thomas hater an offer that included Michael Thomas.
Yeah, it is what it is. Hey guys, if you're here watching, I know there's some people watching, hit that like button. Please subscribe. Go to OUSFFpod.com. Sign up for Super League. We got great things going on over there. We're gonna update our rankings this week, by the way. At least I am, because you just enlightened me that I have one of the guys I traded for out of my top 60, but I haven't looked at it in a couple weeks, so things will be updated.
About the like and subscribe and stuff. If you're on Twitter right now, which all of you watching this right now are on Twitter, you can drop comments and leave comments for the show, and we can respond to them and talk about them during the show. So I know in the old days, Twitter Live, you couldn't comment or say anything, but now on X/Twitter, you can. So do that.
Yes, and if you have the time, please go to our YouTube. We have 83 subscribers right now. We are growing.
We went up one.
Yeah, we went up. I checked it before.
It was at 82 earlier. So
yeah, so we went up. So I appreciate the love, everyone. I think about a month ago we were at 52. So I don't know about that. It went up. So thank you for that, everyone. And I appreciate the love and keep the support. Share it with your friends. Let your friends know, hey, these guys aren't super serious, but they are good at fantasy and they have good advice, but they're not like, hi, we're going to talk about the nth degree of science today. Like I can't, that would bore you to tears. That ain't us. So if you like some comedy relief, I mean, I tried Dave. He's not here right now. He's our guy, but special shows.
Let me ask you a question, a trade question.
Okay.
Before we get into the show,
let's break it down.
It's Justin Jefferson, 4, Tyreek Hill, a first round and a second round.
Justin Jefferson.
I know where I lean. I lean.
Let me write that down. I'm an old guy. I got to write things down. Yes. Justin Jefferson.
So Justin Jefferson on Team A.
Team A. Gotcha.
Team B would get Tyreek Hill. Next year's first round pick.
Okay.
And a 26th second round pick.
Here's what I'm doing. I'm saying I'm taking the offer. If you're like an action movie and you write down your offer on the piece of paper and you slide it across the table, right? You pick it up and you look and you read JJ and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, wait, I'm getting an old ass Tyreek Hill, who's obviously awesome. 25th, first. Okay, that's great. In a second. No, thank you, sir. I need 2 firsts and a player.
That's exactly what I said too.
Okay.
So
all right. Yeah, I need
that was the most reasonable offer I got for Justin Jefferson. I was like, how are you guys are all crazy? Like, none of you are giving me a good offer.
I mean, that's a good offer. That's a decent offer, right? Like what I mean is
that was the best one I got.
It's not offensive. So anyway, do you want to plug Super League or do we want to move on to the show?
I got that video. You ready?
Let's go.
Hi there, time for Extra Life again? Wait, what is Extra Life? Seriously? Extra Life is a charity gaming fundraiser. We play games to raise money for local children's hospitals. Extra Lifers around the world have raised more than $100 million since 2008, and all because of people like you. So what are you waiting for? Donate to Extra Life to help kids like me.
Oh, and here I am to talk about it. So yeah, Super League is a charity best ball league that we are running. We're gonna try to have as many leagues as possible. Again, best ball format should be fun. We don't have scoring set yet. That'll be coming up soon. But all of proceeds for the league will go directly to the Children's Miracle Network through Extra Life. Cool program. I'm actually doing a 24-hour live stream this weekend, starting at Friday at 8 p.m. for this exact charity. So, yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah,
you should join. To join, sign up at OUSFFPOD.com and then just click the Super League tab at the top.
All right. Well, we are waiting on our guest. Chris Allen. But If he shows up, we'll pop him in. If he doesn't show up, that's okay. Cool. Too. You got us, right? We're good enough, right? Right, guys?
Hopefully.
I do want to say this. I want to address something that I have constructive criticism. A listener of ours reached out to me personally and wanted to tell me that sometimes I may dominate the show, as in I talk too much, or I talk over people too much, or I don't let
somebody
people
actually tell you that.
Yeah, they did. And I took it as a thank you, because I do want to make the show better. And I have been, hear me out. I said, well, Pat McAfee's dominant on his show. And the guy responded with, well, Pat McAfee does not talk over his people. So I was like, okay, cool. That's the kind of vibe we want to get over here. We're not there yet, obviously, but we want to get that vibe. So I watched like 2 days worth of Pat McAfee. And I just want to say this.
He does
You're
talk
right,
over his people.
but he does talk over his people.
Mm-hmm.
But he also knows when to not talk over his people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try to do my best, Justin, to not talk over you today. And I want you in return, Justin, please
to talk over you.
Be abrasive back. As in, like, if you got something to say, just jump in. Because I don't want to dominate the show, because too much of me means less listeners and less subscribers and more hate comments, and more of you guys is joy and happiness and fun.
I do like how Pat McAfee was brought up, though, because I have told you many of times I would love to become the fantasy football version of the Pat McAfee show and just have that kind of a show. So that'd be super cool to do one day. But I guess, can I just like smoke a cigar during our show from now on? I'll be the AJ Hawk of the show.
That's the biggest thing I hate about the Pat McAfee show. Not just, I love the show, but I told my
Hawk
friend
just awkwardly staring at the camera. Oh my God.
And I'm like, but I love it, but I still love the show. But I'm like, man, if he was in the studio, that'd be so dope. But hey, we're not.
Did you watch any of the episodes when his son like scratched out his cornea? He just for like 3 days he was like this with sunglasses on.
But hey, we do have our guest. He has showed up. That's okay. We want to bring him in right now. So without further ado, Chris Allen.
There he is.
What's going on, fellas?
What's going on?
Deepest apologies for being so late, guys.
No worries.
I do apologize for that. Normally not as late, but actually I had a realtor come over to our house. We're trying to do a little bit of some family moves. Apologize for the conflict. But no, appreciate you guys having me on for sure.
Oh yeah, thanks for coming on. And no, we were just joking, filibustering. We were just trying to.
that's what you got to do, right? Like whenever you get on these, get on shows and you're just like sitting there talking and like, what's going on? Like, having
yeah.
Before you popped in, I'm not gonna lie. He's in Indiana. Justin is, and we were gonna talk about. Yeah. I was gonna bring up Caitlin Clark in WNBA right now, because I'm not kidding. I talk about it and I watch it all the time now.
Yeah,
but I can't stop. I'm addicted to it.
I
don't know why.
That's such a tough conversation to be. Well, I don't know if it's a tough conversation, but I know it's a conversation that everybody wants to like get their takes out on it. Like, to be honest, I'm kind of tired of it, because it's like I just watch her play ball. Like, can we just like watch her play? I mean, I think she's a good ball player, and then but trying to understand the dynamics of does she have the talent to really translate to the WNBA as it is, and like how does she integrate into it and all that, and just like seeing some of the, I don't know, like it makes some sense that there is some just general animosity that I would assume that would be the case for any hyped up rookie that transitions from college into the pros, but whoo Lord, like some of the takes they've just been it's been tough. Like I know they say that what is it, like there's no such thing as bad press, but man, I would say that some of the stories and the comments that you hear from people that are in sports media at large, I would say that's some bad press that's being generated by her, but it's not her fault. At least I don't think it is.
We can agree with that. I'm sorry, Justin, but I am on the total opposite of, I don't go on social media anymore. I don't go on Instagram or the X. Like I've said that. Yeah, I only go on show days to put out one tweet saying, hey, we have a guest tonight. Come watch our show. That's all I do these days.
That is such a healthy way of doing things.
Josh is like, I got Justin now. He can do all the social media stuff.
It's like, no, but for real,
man.
I'm playing basketball with like my friend a week ago. And we were talking about, Reese and Caitlin Clark and this and that, and we're just talking about the games. Like she's this era of like a Rodman or someone like causing problems in the paint while she's like the new age whatever, and it's like it's so cool. And I'm like, hey, I never watched tennis until I experienced Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer, and then I wanted to watch them all the time. So now I'm like, oh, when Reese and Clark or whoever's on the court, I gotta watch it. Same thing with golf. We didn't watch golf until there was Tiger. So that's the way I look at it. Like I'm just excited. I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but
Right. That's the good thing. You have a healthy relationship with what she's doing, like on the court, and I think that's wonderful. But everybody else that has had to experience this whole social media thing about the takes and all of that, like with her being in the league now, man, it's almost like
tough.
it is tough. It is definitely almost a burden to bear dealing with all that.
Living in the Indy area, it's really tough because it's like, yeah, we got Caitlin Clark. This is so awesome. And now it's just like listening. Now we have to listen to everybody literally just hate on Caitlin Clark. And everybody was hyping her up 2 months ago. And now it's like, oh my God, guys.
Well, now there are people that were questioning her, like her records and all that other stuff, like before she even came in. There was some hate. It was building, and now it's just like everybody has to have a take, and it's just like, man, like just shut up.
This will be my last comment on it because we got fantasy football to talk about. Every time I see like some kind of hatred or like her getting destroyed on the court for some reason, it just makes me think about the Last Dance documentary. And I'm not trying to compare Caitlin Clark to Michael Jordan, but like in the documentary, they're like, they're going to drive him out of the league if they just continue to bully him like that. And he bounced back and I mean, became the greatest of all time. So Caitlin Clark, Michael Jordan.
That's a take right there.
That's a take right there.
You belong on TV or something like that, sir. Like, that's, like with the take.
Well,
like
we were
that,
talking about Pat McAfee. I mean, like that's the dream, right?
Man.
Just become the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah. And I don't know. Like I do like I like his. I don't know if I like the show, and I don't know if I like him, but at the same time, it's like I do understand I understand the role he plays. At least in this entire online social media journalist type of role. So I get it. There's some stuff I agree with, and some stuff it's like, especially the stuff he was saying just this week about Caitlin. It's like,
oh yeah, that was awful.
That was awful. God awful. Yeah.
Totally understandable. But let's shift our focus to fantasy football. That's why we're all here. That's why you're listening.
Let's do that.
Watching. Chris, you are a fantasy analyst and content coordinator over at the FantasyLife. How has that been, by the way? Awesome.
Oh man. First and foremost, yes, it's been awesome. I mean, any chance that you can get to work with one of the goats in this industry, Matthew Berry. I mean, that's just something that it's very difficult to say no to. But it's not just him. I mean, of course, he's the face of the company, but there have been so many people that are and have been a part of the group that have brought me in and that have allowed me to kind of grow as a content creator. That from the CEO, Elliot Christ. I knew Elliot back when we were both at 4for4 football we overlapped for maybe just a couple of months. But just to see him grow, to go from 4for4 to TQE, which is I think now defunct. He was over at FTN for a while and then now here. But to be able to work with him again, Jordan Fiegelman, who was there for a time, I had a really strong relationship with him. But then just the content guys that are there now, Dwayne McFarland, Ian Harditz, actually just saw both of them at Harditz's wedding a few weeks ago. Kendall, Pete, I mean, just the list goes on and on. We have one of if not the best crew in the industry. That's just my personal bias. But also the fact that we're able to offer this content that we have, from Dwayne's utilization report to Pete's thoughts on Best Ball Mania and strategies, to anything that Ian puts out, and which is, I mean, from team previews to whatever. I mean, all that stuff's for free. I mean, especially for now, in this world where a lot of content has to be put behind paywalls, which I understand for a lot of people in order to make that money and generate funds so they can continue to be a part of this industry. But the fact we're able to do all this for free, I think, speaks to just the level of interest in what Barry and the rest of the company, what we can provide to the people. So it's just an awesome place to work at. Very fortunate to be a part of it. And we continue to grow, I think, each year. And we've got some stuff coming over the summer, which I don't think I can announce yet, but you'll probably see announcements about all the things we got coming here within the next few weeks or so.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. Let me tell you, my first podcast I've ever listened to in my entire life was Dave Damashek. But then my second one was my second
That's
one.
a good
ever,
one. That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Well, way back when he was in ESPN. And then my second podcast ever, Bill Simmons. Then my third was Matthew Berry and Nate Ravitz and the Pod Vader. And man,
06010.
Yep. So I've been there almost from the start. I love it so much. And we share birthdays, by the way, Matthew, if you're watching your, employee, we share birthdays and I tweet you every year, December 29th. And I share your sentiment that it's the worst birthday in the history of the world. History.
Really?
I'll be honest, Josh. We were
Source.
podcasting and I didn't even realize it until like later that day. And I was like, oh, it's Josh's birthday. Like,
Yeah.
it's forgotten. Like in between the 25th and 31st,
It literally
it's a lost
like in the
zone.
middle of both. So
Yeah.
no one cares about, like, I never got a birthday present until I had a girlfriend that cared about me. My parents just, Christmas and birthday all one,
Mhm.
It's like every birthday, but it is what it is. Never had a birthday party in my life.
Ooh, that's tough.
But anyway, we're not
And
going to
that's
talk about
Josh's dark corner.
that. It
Right.
is.
Yeah.
That's where I,
December 29th is a bad day. That's the takeaway.
Anyway, so I got to ask you, we ask every single person that comes on here, how long have you been playing fantasy? And do you remember your first ever league?
Okay, so I'll be honest. I hate guessing ages or whatever, but I don't know if I'm the old guy in the group or middle, or whatever. But I'll be 41 here in about 3 weeks or so. I actually just started playing fantasy maybe to 12, 13 years ago, something like that. 2012, I think, was the first time that I started playing, which, like, for a lot of people, it's like they've been playing since the early 2000s. They have, friend groups. They've been doing it since the 90s. I've done shows with, Bob Harris that was doing this stuff back when you had to do it like on a paper and pencil, talk to your buddies like over the phone about making roster changes and all that, adding up your scores based off of stats you saw in the newspaper. So, like, I know people that have gone all the way back to like essentially the Stone Ages of fantasy football. I came in it very late. It wasn't something that I was originally interested in doing. I'm more of I'm a fantasy gamer in the sense that for me, fantasy games is like playing World of Warcraft and Dungeons and Dragons. I'm that type of nerd. So this was never on my radar. But because I'm an engineer by trade, adjunct math teacher on the side for a few years before I started doing this more and more. The statistics part about it, the data analysis part of it, was what really drew me into doing this. And shortly after, starting to getting into the content portion of it and finding my voice and saying this writing portion is really kind of fun. That's when I really started to get into more and more. But after the very first year, I think it was 2000. Yeah, it was 2011. My very first draft pick was Ray Rice. Which I think he still wound up having a 1,000-yard season, but I did all of the bad stuff, all the things like drafting a quarterback in the first or the second round, and thinking that you have to run a bunch of times to set up the pass, just all the stuff that we now know to just be completely proven false. That was where I was at 10 to 12 years ago. But I think challenging your beliefs and trying to find ways to prove that incorrect, or even to prove it correct. I think that's what really drove me into doing this more and becoming a quote unquote expert in the industry.
I love the quote unquote expert. We I it's a family show, but I was late at night taking my medicine, and I'm like, I got a good idea. I'm gonna become the fantasy, because Twitter's now X.
Yeah,
I'm the new expert on fantasy.
Love
football.
it. Yeah.
So now we call ourselves the fantasy experts.
Right.
So
yeah.
you like it? You like the idea? Now
I dig it.
I just gotta get rolling with it, maybe. But should I make it bad takes that the fantasy experts make, or should I be I'm a fantasy expert?
No, I would say just lean into the bit, because if you're trying to make the play off of it, because that's the thing. I shy away from the expert moniker or anything like that. That's why I like analyst. I'll take analyst. That's fine, because at least analyst puts the connotation of it. That's oh, you look at data, you try and look at the parts and pieces of football or fantasy football, and try and come to specific conclusions and all that. Expert, I am not a know-it-all. Absolutely not. I would not put myself in the category of saying that I know. Well, I guess I think I know ball, maybe a little bit, but at least I try and have a process. I know how to manipulate data or analyze data, and then try and come up with reasonable takeaways like after that. But if you're going to take the expert thing and try and make a play off of it, I like that angle, because I think a lot of the problems that come with saying that you're an expert at anything is that people expect you to be right like all the time. And like and especially in a sport that is so volatile, is so like luck based almost. Like we talk about things like if the bounce of a ball goes in a different direction or whatever, that if you don't get things correct, then that means you're bad at what you do, which I think is such a, I don't know, such a bad way to go about, bad way to approach like conclusions that are drawn or whatever, that like if you do it, the way that you've got it, I like that. So obviously just lean into that. And I think that'd be much more easy to digest, like for the industry.
Thank you. Justin, you got something?
I was just gonna say to talk about the fantasy analyst and looking at the data and stuff. That's more of you and I, Josh. Whereas Dave doesn't look at that. He's just the fantasy expert. So
You're right. We have a third guy named Dave. He's honestly the best fantasy player I've ever met. Like he just always in the playoffs, always top 3, always top 2, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't care about stats. Doesn't care about numbers. Doesn't care about graphs.
He just
doesn't
vibes.
know who Roman Wilson is. Like,
Just vibes.
Yeah, he just does, and he's watching right now. I know he is, and honestly, Chris, I don't know what he does or how he does it. Maybe he's just playing stupid. Like I don't know. I don't look at and then secretly he's looking at books and on the computer. I don't know how he does it. He's always He's always ahead of the game.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say that that's still a reasonable. It's still reasonable to say that somebody doesn't look at stats in order to come up with your approach to fantasy football, because there are multiple ways to go about doing it. I would say that because I think if you just understand game theory, right? Because at the end of the day, like that's all that we're playing. And if you understand the pieces to the game, like what the scoring settings are, so then from scoring settings you can derive like supply and demand. So let's say if it's like PPR scoring, all right, well it's PPR scoring. That means then wide receivers are a bit more valuable. Running backs that catch passes are more valuable. So then you can start to come up with a strategy around just drafting the guys that kind of fit into that. Now, do you need stats in order to figure out who those players are? Yeah, kind of. But even I think just understanding like what players are getting drafted and where they are getting drafted kind of push you in that direction. So just understanding ADP in the market, like that could also like be just a fine way to go about doing it as well. So I think that it's possible for somebody to wind up like getting into the top 3 like each season, at the very least making it to the playoffs, just by understanding how the game is played, like how fantasy football is played, without even having to dive into the stats and like all this other stuff that like I typically look at on a like day to day, well, actually probably like hour by hour basis, because I dig into this stuff so much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well said. I agree with everything you said, by the way, because if everyone's been watching the show for a long time or listening, we're not really into the data analysts. I'm sure Justin is. Justin likes that stuff. Me, I'm like in the middle. That's why we like to have people like you on, so we know, so we can learn how this all works, because I just go by feel. I guess watching the games, knowing the situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's gameplay is what I pretty base my stuff on. Now, Justin has some questions for you. He wants to get in some league formats, your favorite kinds.
Fire away.
So what are your favorite like league formats? I mean, we've got a lot now. It used to be, just straight up fantasy football, one quarterback, couple running backs and wide receivers, a tight end, a defense, and a kicker. Now we got best ball, we've got super flex, we've got 2 QB leagues, we've got all sorts of things. We just started there's Devy leagues out there. There's obviously dynasty and redraft. We just started a all rookie league where we only drafted 2024 rookies and have to figure that out. So far the high score for week 1 is I think 41 total points
Projected.
Projected. Yeah, it's a league. It's definitely tough. Some I think like wide receiver 9 for the Commanders just went for $25 in waivers today. So like it's
that's wild,
dude. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the sleeper thing, that 20 waiver, I'm like, how did 20 rookies get picked up today?
28 rookies got picked up today.
Insane. That is insane.
It was a 13-round auction draft. So we had 2 bench spots, and then we added 8 to have 10, so we could build up our bench and try to like it's really a taxi league. I mean, in a sense, but 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 5 flex, a defensive lineman, a linebacker, a defensive back, and that's your starting lineup.
It's work. Chris,
Yeah.
it's work.
That sounds like a lot of
it's
work.
some work.
Goodness gracious.
So yeah,
Okay.
there, like as I was saying, there's all sorts of kind of leagues. What's your favorite format of league to play in?
For right now, like my personal favorite format is best ball. Like that's, I think when I first got into it, this maybe like probably like 4 or 5 years ago when it was still MFL 10s at the time. I the moment I drafted I did like one draft. I was like, this is it. This is it. Like I don't need anything else. Of course, I still play like redraft, and I've got 10 to 15 dynasty leagues, which I say every year I'm going to try and cut down. And then I get asked to like join a startup. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's meet up. Let's go ahead and do that. But to me, best ball incorporates a lot of the parts and pieces of the other formats without a lot like the same amount of like in-season work. Because at least for me, for as much as I have to do during the season, if I have to work less in terms of like every Tuesday night where it's like, all right, well, let's look at these waivers. All right, let's look. All right, who got injured on this roster? Oh, this person's going on IR. Oh, this player has a terrible matchup the next week. Like how much fab do I have? Like all of those things that go into just your traditional managed leagues, at least over the off season for best ball specifically. It incorporates the parts and pieces of I would at least say dynasty that is important for us because we have the draft component, which is obviously important like for best ball because we got to know where these rookies wind up landing up. But also on top of that, throughout the off season, you get those kernels of information, whether it's positive news. Like for me personally, I live in Ohio. I've been a Bengals fan for like over 20 years now. Went to school in Cincinnati, so that's my team. For better for worse, that's my team. But like you get these kernels of information about Jermaine Burton working with Joe Burrow, Chase Brown or whomever is like kind of working with the second team or like whatever the case may be. I mean, which is a part of like what you would do for dynasty purposes. Like, how is this rookie that I'm going to sink my early first, late second, or whatever third round pick like into this guy, depending on when you have your draft. At least for most of mine, we do them like after the actual NFL draft and like sometime during the summer. So it incorporates like parts of that. And like also there's that strategy portion that we were talking about earlier. So like for your redraft leagues and for the guy that you're talking about for Dave, that just goes off vibes. It could just be strategy. It could just be understanding like what the market is doing, like where typical players are being drafted at, like how many running backs are typically drafted in the first 6 rounds, how many wide receivers are people typically getting? Do you go early quarterback, mid quarterback? Do you do the late round quarterback strategy popularized by Mr. JJ Zacharyson? I mean, any of those strategies that would get involved in building a roster, best ball has that too. Understanding how you can construct an 18-man roster if you do it on underdog, which is where I typically draft at. I mean, that has that strategy piece to it as well. And then, like I said earlier, because I'm lazy, I'll get out like once September hits. Like if I don't have to worry about the in-season management portion, sign me up. But I think also the one thing that I do really like about it is the fact that regardless of which site you play on, and regardless of if you're a tournament player or if you're a person that wants to just do just like your casual like best ball leagues, most of the price points that you can get in on some of these leagues allows you to build a portfolio. And at least for me, I like drafting a bunch of teams. I like the feeling of drafting. I like the rush that you get while drafting, but then also it kind of forces me, if I do a bunch of them, it forces me to take a look at how I'm looking at not just players, but teams. Because if you think about it, like over the off season, we might think that, like, let's say for instance, like the Kansas City Chiefs, like they're going to be the best team ever. They're just going to like Patrick Mahomes. Now that he's got Marquise Brown, we'll see what happens with Rashee Rice. He's got Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce for one last dance before Kelce potentially hangs him up and goes to be like a star at Coachella or whatever the hell he's going to wind up doing. Guy's a freaking goon, whatever. Like he's Ohio born and bred, so I can say that about him. But still, that type of take would then influence how you draft. It's like, oh, okay, well, now I love Kansas City, so I'm going to draft a bunch of Kansas City players. But then mid-season, it's like, all right, well, I have a bunch of KC players, but I also kind of like I kind of like what Green Bay's doing, or I kind of like what Minnesota's doing. Maybe Seattle with their new offensive coordinator and the new head coach. Like, volume drafting allows you to kind of like pick apart your own thought processes that goes into drafting. And so then you can like kind of invest in pockets of teams, pockets of players. And now you develop this portfolio of players where it's like, I don't just like this one guy. Everybody likes multiple guys, but best ball drafts allow you to get exposure to all of them. And then at the end of the season, you can, if you don't take a look at your teams, I typically don't. It's almost like going like Kid on Christmas. I don't like take a look at my teams until like the back end of December. It's like, ooh, I won all this money. Sweet. Because you don't have to think about it. And that's the joy of best ball. So for me, it has been like since I started playing them, and it still is to this day. I write about it, I analyze it and whatever, but it'll always be best ball, the format for me.
Gotcha.
So it sounds like we need to get you signed up for Super League, which is our best ball charity league.
Sold. Sign me up. When? Just tell me when we're drafting. Like I'll hop in. Slow draft, fast draft. What you got?
It'll be slow draft. We're trying to do some live drafts in the Indy area and in the Tampa area, but we don't
like
have
Indianapolis
for that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm like 2 hours away. Hey, I've been out there for the combine the past 2 years in a row. Like I love coming out to Indianapolis.
You're gonna have to find producer Jacob, who's not here tonight, and I, because we go to the combine every year now too. If we get a live draft going, that will be there. But yeah, right now they're all slow drafts. We're still doing registrations.
You guys go to the combine, you will find me drunk at Prime 47 every night, like at the combine. I'll awesome. Be there. I'll buy you drinks all night long.
You're gonna be at the Cincinnati Sky Fishbowl live draft.
Yes,
too, right?
sir. I will be there
too. So
let's do it. Drinks on me, man.
I wish. Where's my invite? No, I'm in Orlando live.
Come to Cincinnati.
Okay.
Yeah,
come to Cincinnati. Live. Come on.
Yeah, I've been up there once for WrestleMania, but I went to Michigan. So to me, all the North is the same. I've lived in Florida all my life. I've never been out of Florida.
Okay.
Except for a couple of times. But
so are you the Florida man that I keep hearing about?
I am. We are all the Florida man. It's like, I am Spartan.
Collective.
Yes.
We are collective.
His alligators are back.
Yeah. There is, there's water moccasin. My buddy was bit by a water moccasin, a cottonmouth, very venomous. I don't know if you know that, guys. Yeah, it's dangerous.
He's still alive?
Yeah, we luckily the snake didn't release venom.
Okay.
Luckily, it bit him like 3 different times too. It's ridiculous. We have water moccasins everywhere. Davey, Davey.
That's wild.
Davey and he didn't die?
No, because it didn't release the venom. It just bit him. And there's only one hospital in the whole Bay Area that has the anti-venom, and that's Tampa General. So props to Tampa General. Now I know to only go there and nowhere else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but hey, that's what happens here in Florida. I was face to face with a gator once. No joke.
Absolutely.
My buddy, we were in the Alafai River. My buddy said, "You know what? Let's tip the canoe." Didn't tell anyone that. He just said, he just in his mind. And then the gator was face to face with me. No big deal. Just swam away. Gators don't hurt you. They don't hurt you.
Hell no. Like we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Nope.
But that's how we roll down here. We are the Florida man. So let's get into some scenarios. We have a lot of Tampa listeners too, so they're gonna understand that. Let's get into the segments of the show. We only have 2 for you today, but they are some pretty good ones. Before I read this, Justin, it didn't say dynasty, so I'm going to put this as redraft. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it is redraft.
Okay.
What's this
redraft scenario?
Yeah, redraft. Just a buy, just a basic buy, sell, hold.
Yeah.
We have 3 different running
we're going
backs.
to that one. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, we're going to go to that one.
My bad.
I have James Conner, obviously Arizona. Josh Jacobs, new team in Green Bay. Our Najee Harris, stuck in Pittsburgh. Which are we doing? Which are we buying, selling, and holding?
Me first?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Sure.
All right. So I guess since I'm the guest, I guess I should go first. All right. I would say out of those 3, buy, sell, hold, I am for this year. Again, this is redraft focus. I make it like so. I'm vamping as I'm thinking. Because we're doing this on the fly. We're doing it live. I am buying Josh Jacobs. I'm holding Najee Harris, and I'm selling James Conner.
I'm exactly the same, honestly. In redraft format, that's exactly how I am. Honestly, I might even say the same thing in Dynasty. To be. Oh, I might sell Josh Jacobs, but
You want my logic,
yeah,
or
I do.
in
I
redraft,
do.
I agree with you.
Okay. All right. So where to start at? So buying Josh Jacobs. Okay. So first off, contract wise, Josh Jacobs got the second largest contract in free agency amongst all running backs, valued just behind like Saquon Barkley's. At what? He's 26 years old at this point. So not like old, getting older for the number of carries that he has like on his resume. I can understand like the concern about the wear and tear, tread on his tires, like whatever like analogy or euphemism that you want to use for where Josh Jacobs at his career. But Green Bay over the past like 3 seasons, especially even like last season. So last season was the first season we saw with Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love, like as the full season starter, 10th in pass rate over expectation. But in terms of neutral passing, they were like middle of the pack. So from a volume based standpoint, Josh Jacobs right now like should be in line for at least a healthy workload. What was he like last season with the Raiders? Like before he got injured, over 60% of the teams like rushing carries. That would have put him like top 10 in the entire league. So from a volume based standpoint, despite the fact that he is switching teams, he is going to an offense that features the running back. How many times do we watch Aaron Jones or like AJ Dillon, like, you know, like just rushing through like whatever defense in order to score? I mean, while Jordan Love like had a highly efficient season, it was also due in part to the fact that they were using their running backs in order to extend drives, to convert first downs, like so on and so forth. So for Josh Jacobs, and also the competition for touches right now, they signed AJ Dillon back on some sort of like quirky deal. I mean, they barely paid him like anything. And more or less, I see him as a depth piece than anything else. Like he doesn't have the same role that what we envisioned for AJ Dillon when he got drafted. Like, remember when he got drafted and he was like, oh, Quadzilla, you know, he's got the big thighs and he's going to be like the hammer. And like, especially, you know, think about Lambeau Field in December and you're going to want that guy to wear defenses down. Like, none of that should happen. Like to some degree, but for the most part, like none of that happened. Now with what they're paying him, I mean, shoot, you could see Marshawn Lloyd, the rookie that they drafted on day 2, being the guy that they favor in some of those situations, especially given the fact that, again, it's not like Josh Jacobs is a guy that they see have a long-term vision for him. And especially since the fact that the Packers used that day 2 pick on him, I could see, at least for redraft purposes right now, Josh Jacobs being the guy that I would want to buy. I want to buy into, especially because I want to buy into the Packers offense. And one of the top teams in EPA per play, one of the highest efficient teams. And also this is now, they're going to be part of a good division, a competitive division, one that you're going to need to continue to score points in order to stay in front of Chicago with Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze and Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, to stay in front of Justin Jefferson. And we'll see what JJ McCarthy like it is and what he can be. But like all of the teams now, they're going to be part of the NFC North. It's actually a good division. So I could see this being something that's a situation I do want to buy into. I'll hold Najee Harris for right now. Pittsburgh Steelers, they declined his 5th-year option. So it's obvious that from a long-term standpoint, like we just got him for 2024 and after that, that's it. But still from a rushing standpoint, he was still getting most of the touches, like once they got into the green zone. So for running backs, we just want those guys that are going to give us those money touches, and Najee Harris was giving us that. Still being at least partially used as a receiver, that Jaylen Warren can take over more of that. Because for any stat that you want to throw out, especially any receiving stat, yards per route run, explosive play rate, average depth of target, like whatever, targets per route run, Jaylen Warren was a better running back as a receiver, and also partially as a runner too. But since the Steelers have him for this season, Arthur Smith, like coming up from Atlanta, past 3 seasons, the Falcons were either dead last or bottom 5 in pass rate over expectation. And now just looking at the quarterback situation for the Steelers, it's either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. Not expecting them to light it up through the air. So if we can at least see a scenario where the volume is going to be there for either Jaylen Warren or Najee Harris, at least holding the guy that should get most of the volume, especially once they get into the red zone, once they get inside the 10, inside the 5. I mean, I can at least buy that, or at least hold that situation and want a piece of that. And then I'm selling on James Conner. The man has barely been able to stay healthy, like have a full 16, 17 game season for the past 3 years. And also they wind up drafting a guy that in Trey Benson that is kind of similar. Trey Benson, 6', 216 right now. So a big back that can also run like fairly quickly. 4.39 40 at the combine. And also they used a day 2 pick on him. So like they drafted his direct replacement. So while the Arizona Cardinals, the offense it should be good. I mean, I like what Jonathan Gannon, like even though he's defensive-minded coach, I liked what I saw out of the most part out of the Cardinals offense like last season. Especially once Kyler Murray came back. They've got Marvin Harrison Jr., got Trey McBride now in his 3rd season. So the offense should be good. It should be an offense that we want to like draft pieces of. But the fact that Connor has been unable to stay healthy, I mean, if he is healthy, he has been up in the 60, 65% like team carry rate, like when he is healthy. But again, since they have Benson like right there in order to kind of take the load off of him, I could see a situation where either Benson takes over or Connor winds up like, tweaking his hamstring, missing a couple of games, and Benson is kind of the guy that you need anyway. So I'm selling on Connor. So again, it's buying Josh Jacobs, given the contract and also the offense, holding Najee Harris because he has been getting the volume. And for 2024, Pittsburgh Steelers offense doesn't look like a pass first type offense anyway. And then selling James Conner because of the health and also because he has direct competition that the Cardinals drafted with day 2 draft capital.
Okay. That's awesome. We are almost the same. There's one thing that I would be differently. I'm in on Connor this year. I know he gets hurt. He has never played a full season. I don't think. I'm looking at it right now. He played 13 last year, 13 here. He's played 13 or less every year.
Like 6 or 7 last year. Yeah.
He played 13. Yeah. He's played 13 or less in every single season except for 2021. But last year was his first year ever. I was surprised by this. Over 1,000 yards rushing. That's in his highest yards per carry ever, 5.0, which is crazy because didn't expect that. The only thing I don't like about Najee Harris is the new coaching staff there, the quarterback situation. I like to tend to stay away from situations like that, especially with a guy who's been declining year after year after year, especially points per game. Yes, he does get the opportunities, and yes, he is their go-to guy. Jaylen Warren, you just named everything best in all these other stats, but their go-to guy is Najee Harris, and people have to live with that, and that's just the way it is. And it's going to be that way. With Connor in Arizona, we know what we have. He's been there for a few years now. He's been really good in the passing game. He's been really, really good. Last year, he only had 27 catches, which is down from 46 the year before. I just want a guy who's going to be on the field most of the time, and we don't know with that new coaching staff if they're going to actually stick with the course of Najee Harris versus the Jaylen Warren situation. I don't know that.
That's fair.
Now, you can say, yeah, they drafted Trey Benson over there in Arizona day 2. I get that. A lot of running backs are drafted day 2, but we've seen in the past, and I'm not saying that the Cardinals do this. I don't know their history of the running back position, but they got to pick up pass pro. They need to protect the quarterback, especially they need to protect Kyler Murray. And are we really expecting Trey Benson to get it right away? Just like that. We've seen rookie running backs struggle with pass protection in the past. It's a big part of the game, especially with an offense, and especially an offense honestly generated around Kyler Murray. This is it. They need him to work out. They need him to stay on the field for them to succeed. Right? They just put in a lot of draft capital, Marvin Harrison, to get him that number 1 guy. They have Trey McBride now, like you said. This could be an offense that can score a lot of touchdowns, and I think James Conner is going to be the goal line guy, and that's right there as a deal breaker. Najee is also all these guys to me are the goal line guys. Jacobs as well. Jacob scares me because new team. He had his worst yards per carry last year. He really hurt me a lot, so I'm taking it personal. Because
I'm taking it personal. At least you're admitting it. That's fair.
I've taken
it as therapy. Use it as therapy.
I've taken it personal ever since that one time he says he doesn't care about our fantasy teams. You guys remember that?
And then he still ripped off like 1,000. He had his career best like that same season.
And I still draft him every year. I really do. That's the only difference we have here. I still love Jacobs the most. If put in ADT, draft terms, if they're on the board, taking Jacobs first, taking Connor second, taking Najee last, just for that reason. Najee scares me. Doesn't he scare you? Doesn't that offense scare you? We don't know who it's going to be. What's going to happen? Is Pickens the guy? Is Roman Wilson the guy? Is Najee Warren? Is Justin? there's so many question marks. I kind of wanted to stay away from that entire team, personally.
Kind of, but I think in that same vein, I try and swerve into uncertainty, especially given like if we are just going to if we want to factor in ADP, I think that is also like that's not a part of this exercise. I'm bringing it in just as a crutch to help my argument. And I'm like wholly admitting that. I think that is where like opportunity costs and understanding like where he's currently going in drafts. That's where I would kind of like swerve into that, because everybody does think like Jaylen Warren, like, oh, he's so much better. Like, look at all the stats. And like, so I want Jaylen Warren. But in reality, like we can all agree, like Najee Harris is going to be that guy once they get inside the 5 on third downs, like short yardage, like that is going to be Najee Harris. That's going to be like, so me personally, I swerve into that, but your point is well taken that we don't know anything. Like, it's not even just the running back situation. We don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be. I mean, all signs do point to like Russ, like being the dude, but there is some uncertainty there. We don't know what their passing game is going to look like between Wilson, like Roman Wilson or George Pickens, what their third wide receiver situation is going to look like, if Calvin Austin is going to be a thing. Because really, like honestly, this exercise aside, the only person that I feel confident in drafting from the Pittsburgh Steelers at all is Pat Freiermuth. That's the only dude that I feel comfortable drafting at this point. But if I were to just at least not even honestly, I can't even push back on it. It's just like saying that, at least for me, if I do know that he's going to get like most of those touches, and we know what Jaylen Warren's role is for the most part, unless there's going to be some sort of shift and we see more of them in that like more third down, more 2-minute stuff for Warren. If Najee Harris's role is secure, then I just want the touches. Regardless of what the offense looks like, I'll just take the touches and go on my merry way.
No, volume's king, especially in the running back room. Justin, you got any more input on this one, or you want to move on to the next?
I don't have a lot more. The only thing that I would be worried about with Najee Harris, honestly, is if Justin Fields later in the season becomes the starting quarterback, that's going to take running plays away from their running back room. Also, Justin Fields is doing running drills in practice right now. So
do you think they are really going to risk that and put him back there?
No, they're not going to.
No,
but they also don't have a quarterback under contract for next year. So who cares?
Right.
Ooh,
So
hurtful. All right, let's go to the next scenario, Justin.
So the next scenario, we're talking about redraft again. We are sitting with the pick 109 on the board in a snake draft. So we're gonna come around to the turn here in a minute. So far off the board, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, CJ Stroud, CeeDee Lamb, and right before us, Justin Jefferson gets picked with 108. This is a super flex, half point, tight end premium, and then, of course, a 12-person league. Who are you going to take at 109?
At 109, so super flex. So Allen, Hurts, Mahomes. So the 3 quarterbacks. We got the if it's going to be super flex, could I interest you in Anthony Richardson?
You could. Talking to the right person here.
Could I interest you in? I know I'm like, see, you know your host, and you gotta
maybe
play
Joe Burrow.
Like, I'm a professional. My concern, and actually, like on tomorrow's show with Ian and Dwayne, like we're gonna be talking about just like we're gonna play a bit. I'm telling you people this now. When you see like the next Fantasy Life podcast come out, this will be recorded tomorrow, and then it'll come out on Friday. And we're all going to be playing a bit where we're talking negatively about some of our favorite fantasy picks as of right now. And so I have to present the negative case for Anthony Richardson about like why he's going to fail in 2024. And so for people listening right now, it's a bit. So don't come and like, yell at me on Twitter because let's see, I'm getting the caveats out right now. But the positives for Anthony Richardson.
It's a great segment, to be honest with you.
Oh, it's like, going to be
a great segment.
I mean, it's going to be fun. We're going to have some laughs about it and whatever. But then, of course, I'm assuming that the backlash is going to be that, like, oh, you hating on my guy Anthony Richardson. It's like, no, man. Like, I think he's just fun. But positives for Anthony Richardson. We saw how good that offense looked, and that was just with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback.
Oh.
I mean, Shane Steichen. I mean, come on now. Let's call it. Let's understand like what Gardner Minshew is. I mean, he is a fine quarterback, right? I would say let's put him at like if he's top 20, he's 20.
Can I say he's this era's Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I would say Ryan Fitzpatrick had much more arm strength.
Okay.
I would say
he's going to be a journeyman throughout this.
Yeah,
he's probably going to play for 10 years.
Yeah, I would say like
this will not be his final team.
In terms of like archetype, absolutely. Like the guy that you want to come in and just like YOLO his way into like maybe like a close to like 500-ish. He'll probably win a few games that everyone's gonna be like, how the hell did they just win that? Like that is Gardner Minshew. And I think he showed that like in the starts that he had for the Colts just last season. So I think that point is well taken. But Shane Steichen, that offense, the fact that he was able to integrate like not just play action, some boot action, he resurrect but I think also he helped resurrect Zach Moss's career. The running concepts, the blocking scheme that he was able to incorporate. I mean, it's almost like a night and day flip from the 2022 offense that we saw before Steichen came over to 2023. So for Anthony Richardson, I would say that, and just given the fact that he has the rushing component, he can hit the deep ball if he needs to. Hopefully he's able to now he has the offseason to work with Michael Pittman. They bring in AD Mitchell, who's also going to be a phenom. At least I think that he could be like on the perimeter. And of course, Josh Downs. Like I thought Josh Downs actually is one of the more underrated aspects of that offense, because having a guy that can play like on the interior, but also can create after the catch, like we saw Downs doing. I mean, that's going to be essential like to this offense, because Michael Pittman will always do his thing in the intermediate parts of the field. You want a field stretcher. They wanted like Alec Pierce to do that. Clearly, he's not going to be that guy for them. But if you swap him out with AD Mitchell, have Josh Downs doing his thing, been hearing the drumbeat for Jelani Woods, the tight end, like throughout the offseason. And of course, if you have Jonathan Taylor still in the backfield at 109 in a super flex draft, Anthony Richardson as the 9th pick, I think you could do. I don't think you could do worse. Like, to be honest,
Justin, you used my list, didn't you? By the way,
what list?
Okay. When Justin made this thing, I'm like, okay. What I did was I just wrote 24 players, how I would draft them.
Are you talking about the list of the 8 players that were drafted before you?
Yeah, you took my players.
No,
right?
actually, I didn't. I actually created a whole nother league in Sleeper, put the scoring settings in, and hit go.
Whatever. So when he put this question out, I just put, what I did was I listed the players I would draft in order. So I guess my top 24 players in the Superflex format.
Okay.
I came up with Joe Burrow at 9.
You're not twisting my arm, like saying you want Joe Burrow.
But now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm looking right here. So if I took Burrow at 9 on my mind, I would get Tyreek at 16 or on the way back on the second round. So are you against going, you know what? I don't need a super elite quarterback. I don't need Burrow. Maybe I'll take my Amon-Ra. Maybe I'll take my Brees. Maybe I'll take, a Tyreek or a Chase. And then in that second round, you could probably grab Richardson. Then what I'm asking is, are you reaching for Richardson at 9? Do we expect him to be that high? Because I expect him in the second round at least. Maybe I'm wrong. But get that star positional player and then hope for Richardson. If you don't get him, you could probably get a Kyler Murray.
I'm assuming that most of those quarterbacks, especially the guys that have the mobility, the guys that can break fantasy, are going to be the ones that are going to be drafted that early. And actually, to be quite honest, now I'm looking at this list. I missed. Well, I would probably
Lamar's
prefer
not on that list.
Yeah, and I just saw that, and I was like, Lamar Jackson's not on that list. So if I would put both of those guys ahead, I probably should have taken Lamar. But I mean that's the archetype of player that I would take early. So if I had that player available to me at the 109, yeah, Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson. I mean, those are the guys that I would be targeting right there.
Okay.
When I ran the simulation 3 times, when I ran the simulation 3 times, Lamar was 109 every time. At this point, I think Richardson was always in the second round. Honestly, this is a great spot with the way the board is filled out so far, because you could get Lamar at 109. You could circle back around and get Richardson at the 103, 104.
204.
That's not a bad way 204. That's not a bad way to start off a super flex league. Getting 2 very high end rushing quarterbacks that will score a lot of rushing touchdowns. So
Let me tell you, if I'm in the top 5 and any of y'all super flex leagues, I'm taking Lamar. I have him 5 on mine. There's no way he's getting past 5. But that's just
Right.
me. I love Lamar. I think Lamar is a game breaker, like you said.
It's actually kind of interesting that Stroud's like in that grouping of players that were drafted like before the 9 spot, but not Lamar.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's interesting it's interesting to me.
It's sleeper ADP right there for you. But
Yeah.
I know Stroud is good. He's getting on my nerves a lot
I know
right
Stroud
now,
is
and
good.
I'm getting ready to mute the word Stroud on X.
I would say that I like Stroud. I think like from a pure football standpoint, we need more quarterbacks like him in the league. Honestly, like you could just tell like from listening to, like, for watching some of the videos, and like I get like some of them are kind of corny, but if you listen to him, you can just tell that dude like just loves football. Like he loves football. Like the fact that like he's molded his game off of like the clip that came out earlier about like he molds his game off of Matthew Stafford. I mean the stuff that he was doing with Micah Parsons, like just talking like who you would name like to be on like your top your starting offense or whatever. I mean like just the kid knows ball like like the back of his hand because like he just has such a like high like just a passion for the game, and it just shows like when he's on the field and when he's off the field. He's just like the kid just loves to talk ball, and I love it.
Yeah, I agree. It's sad that he was the number 2 pick, but in fantasy, we were all, especially in Superflex rookie leagues, we were all downplaying him, and he was going really late in Superflex drafts.
Yeah.
Just insane.
And of course, I'll cape for my guy because he went to Ohio State. Like that is the only time that I will acknowledge the Ohio State Buckeyes like as a good program is when they now have a good players then come to the NFL. Outside of that, I'm a Bearcat, not a Buckeye.
I was about to ask you. I was going to ask you, how's it feel to steal? I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan, and a long time ago, you guys stole a national championship. But you're not since you're Cincinnati. But a long time ago, Ohio State stole Miami.
Yeah, like
that was one of
our
the
greatest
first
claim to fame.
Championships I remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah, our biggest claim to fame, like for Cincinnati, is we've got the the 2 Kelsey brothers, but that's what we got.
I love it.
Hey, Sauce Gardner now too, so
that's true.
There you go.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, thank you so much for coming on. We have one last thing. We have a early bold prediction.
Some would say way too early.
Way too early.
Whoever created this segment for the show.
It's tough because I've been thinking about this for a while. And every bold prediction I ever have either blows up my face or is the best thing of all time. It's never in the middle. Like it's either this is great or man, Jerry Jeudy really let me down this year. So I'll kick it off. I'm going to kick it off. Last year's bold statement did not really do well. It's okay. We're moving on. I'm not going to mention what it was, but this year I'm going back to back. I'm picking it again. Garrett Wilson will lead all receivers in receiving touchdowns. He will achieve 20 this year. He will be the wide receiver 1. Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers will be the dynamic duo. I'm a Dolphins fan. It's going to break my heart every week, but I am going to be all in again on Garrett Wilson. I will draft him as my wide receiver 1 in every single redraft league. 20 touchdowns incoming. Let's go.
I thought you were going to say Devin Singletary is going to be a starting running back this year.
That was my sleeper pick last year, and it worked out at the very end of the year. So, but my logic on that, honestly, is I've seen the years with Devontae Adams, and yes, that's a very lazy way of looking at it, but we all know Aaron Rodgers kind of targets his number 1 alpha guy. And yes, they have some other players over there. Of course they do. But I want them to actually, I think they're going to be a big, like, this was going to happen last year. Now we're going to double down and be even better and blow everyone out of the water. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. I think this is great for the league, honestly, to have the Jets good this year. I'm excited for it. And I'm a Dolphins fan. So let's go. Garrett Wilson. First round pick.
Kind of works for you. Yeah. It definitely works for you. All right. You going next or is that me?
I can go next. You might not like me for this one though. And I want to preface this with, I've been rooting for the Bengals as long as I've been rooting for the Colts since 1998.
This ought to be good.
Jamar Chase will not finish in the top 12 of wide receivers.
Woo! Oh,
Last year he finished wide receiver 11. The year before that, he finished wide receiver 12. T. Higgins may or may not be a Bengal. We hope T. Higgins will be a Bengal. Tyler Boyd's not there. He is going to take all the target shares, but that also means he's going to get a lot of double coverages, a lot more this year.
That's tough.
I don't want it to happen, but that's my way too early bold prediction. Jamar Chase, he could finish wide receiver 13, and I'll be right. But
see how negative this guy is.
That's man, that hurts. And like you knew I was
it does hurt
and everything,
and
you did it anyway. Like and you did it like I mean that you know what? I'll give you props because like you had the take, and then you knew I was a Bengals fan, and you still went for it anyway. I mean that is bold. It
hurts
me
too. I have their helmet right there. I have
even knowing right that I could have picked any other quarterback for the last segment. And who did I decide to talk about? Like, was it Lamar Jackson? Like, no, I didn't talk about Lamar Jackson. Like, you know what? Who was it again? It was Anthony Richardson. He plays for and yet you're gonna okay, all right, not just all right.
So Josh, I ruined this networking with Chris Allen here.
I see how it is.
Matthew Berry will never come on this show ever. I already see.
Like I was gonna text him and say like, hey, I mean, like you know, this is a show that you should come on, but no, I gotta rescind the text. I gotta tell him like no, like don't come on here. Like just
see, Josh, you say everybody hates you and they all like me. Now
you know what's funny is I'm the one who pointed out in a previous video that Jamar Chase has had more single-digit fantasy points last year than Justin Jefferson's had ever since 2021. But that's just me. I'm not a Jamar Chase hater. I don't think he's going to finish 12. Did you know that stat, Chris? That
I did not.
Jamar Chase has had more single-digit fantasy points games last year than Justin Jefferson had since 2021.
Well, I mean, I'll go off on a whole tangent, like with the calf thing with Burrow, him missing like half the season. Like he was like also like Chase got injured. Like there's a lot of things.
But then I can go into like Justin Jefferson got hurt, and then he had 3 backup quarterbacks, and he was still like amazing when he came.
Well, Justin Jefferson is like I think he is like it's him and Tyreek Hill as like the best wide receivers in the league. To be quite honest, I think they're like number 1 and number 2.
Serious question. Hold on, Justin. I got on this topic. I'm sorry. Serious question. Where do you have Amon-Ra in that situation? Because I've been getting killed because I have him up there with those guys. Does he belong up there?
No.
Really?
No.
Just real football wise, not fantasy.
Yeah,
like
real football wise, he does not belong up there. No.
Okay.
Like I would say because like he cannot beat man coverage and affect the game in the same way that those two affect the game. Like they just like he just can't.
That's fair.
I would say he belongs in the like I wouldn't say Michael Pittman, but like almost in that like where like he's a good receiver, but it's like CeeDee Lamb plays like he gets lined up like in the slot almost as often as Amon-Ra, but you've never seen Amon-Ra take over a game like CeeDee Lamb has taken over a game. Like we just haven't seen that.
Not
yet. So that's where it's like I can't put him up there.
We see the Lions running game also affect the games too, which the Cowboys don't. So CD has to take over those games, or else the Cowboys aren't doing anything. So that's
right. But like CD can, like CD can win on the outside. Mm-hmm. Like he showed that when he was in college.
And that's why people are ranking CD as wide receiver 1 right now. So.
And I can see that, but it still Jefferson can affect the game like much more, like literally, like we saw that like multiple games like last season, where like it's just like I don't care like who's throwing me the ball, like we're just gonna win this game.
Gotcha. Yeah. So in your opinion, I just want to get this clear: if Jared Goff got hurt and we had to deal with a backup quarterback, do you think Amon-Ra would be as effective as he is, or do you think he'd take a huge step back? Because Jefferson doesn't really take it. A lot of guys don't take the huge.
Not
step
a
back.
Huge step back, but I'd say he would be affected by the quarterback change.
Okay,
I think he would be affected by the quarterback change.
Adjusting my rankings. No, I still like him. No, I you know why I like him so much? Because when he came out, I was against him. I was huge against him. I was like, this guy's not going to succeed. Blah blah blah. Yada yada yada. I was a big hater on him. He really proved me wrong, especially his work ethic and the way he approaches the game. Yeah. I really respect that. So, yeah, I'm just into him. That's all.
Yeah, just learn all the stuff about like his dad was a power builder or something, or a power lifter or something, bodybuilder. Yeah. and just like how much of that like kind of seeped into like his work ethic, like, and for all the things that like for all the hate that not hate, but I would say the disappointment that comes with how little like his brother has like been like not as relevant like in the league. Equanimous, I'm talking about. I would say both of them are still like, but you can still see the fact that like they work at it, like they really do. It's just came a bit more naturally for Amon-Ra than it did for Equanimous.
Tough.
Well, yeah.
So Chris, what's your
my
way
bold
too
prediction?
early bold prediction?
So let's see. I mean, I don't know. There's this.
It's going to be Colts related. Jonathan Taylor won't finish in the top 30, I bet.
No, actually, I'm going to go and throw it out there. Devon Achane, RB1 by the end of the season. The RB1.
You're a fan of Devon Achane. Good. That's good to hear. I'm actually into that. Do you think Mostert falls off a cliff?
I just think that he winds up taking over the backfield. I think if that's kind of where I'm at. Like, while again, this is me like way too early rankings, just me projecting out and where we look at things in December. But if you want to talk about a running back that can affect the game, I mean, look at how many yards did he put up? Again, it's a 1-game sample. How many yards did that man put up against the Broncos like last season? Yeah, 1-game sample. I completely understand that. But throughout the course of the year, he was averaging almost like 9 and some change in terms of adjusted yards after contact. From a explosive standpoint, like one of the highest explosive run rates in the league. Even as a receiver, I mean, they were splitting him out wide. I mean, moving him into the slot. I know the injury hampered like a lot of what we saw out of him, like towards over the back half of the season. But if you want to talk about a guy that has the ability to really like break fantasy, like, and be one of those like bell cow type running backs. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, the guy that just got extended yesterday, who's been like a first overall draft pick for the past like 2 seasons in a row. I mean, why has he been that guy? Because he's been a part of like highly efficient like just offense, not even just passing game or running game, but just offense. But then 2, the fact that he gets most of the touches that we need, and he's a part of the receiving game. And at least last year, in limited sample, we saw that he can definitely affect the running game. There ain't no question about that. But I would say as a receiver, the fact that they haven't really been able to find that third wide receiver like in that group, right? They kicked around like Ced Wilson. They tried the Mike Gesicki experiment. They're going to try and do the same thing with Jonnu Smith like this year. The fact they haven't really been able to find that reliable third wide receiver. Tyreek Hill getting older. Jalen Waddle, will see what he's going to be able to do, considering the Jalen Waddle plays like their ex-receiver. So they need other options in that offense. And that the other offense like could, in my personal belief, like should be Achane. So if we're going to get like at least a split workload like with Raheem Mostert, and I think he could take over that like throughout the season, and he can also play like as that like maybe third-ish like wide receiver, the third passing option for Tua. I mean, he could I think he could be like the number one running back by the end of the year. And he plays in the same system that kind of helped boost like Christian McCaffrey before Mike McDaniel came over to Miami.
No worries about Jalen Wright at all.
No, he's fast. Cool.
We like speed in Miami. Apparently,
you do like speed in Miami, but it's like
speed.
It's like, but it's cool. I mean, if Jalen Wright can put up like almost like 200 all-purpose yards in a single game, then I'll take notice. But I've seen Devon Achane do it.
Yep.
So I'm kind of with that.
Kind
of seen him do that. Kind of see him put up like almost 40 fantasy points in a single game, which is that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I would say so. Yeah. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on. And I know we went late, but hey, thank you. It's been awesome. Tell us where we can find you. Let us know about that awesome segment, because I will be listening to that. I can't wait to hear you talk bad about Anthony Richardson. Yeah. And I will be tweeting at you, hey bro, what's up? You said on the show we're picking 109. No.
I'm like, I told you. Yeah, I told you I wouldn't do it. Oh man, I can't wait. But
I'm retweeting that.
Oh man, it's gonna be terrible. I'm gonna get so much hate for that. But no, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX. All of my work nowadays, you can find me at all that work over at Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life, FantasyLife.com. I write the newsletter like once a week. Actually, my segment like came out like earlier today. Fantasy Life podcast with Dwayne McFarland and Ian Harditz. Record that tomorrow. Have it out every Friday. But yeah, come check us out. Plenty of free content there, from my stuff to Dwayne's show, like with Marcus Grant, Pete Overzet doing best ball stuff, Kendall, like just the whole nine. I mean, we've got so much going on over there. So yeah, encourage everybody to come and check it out, because again, it's all for free. So you don't have to cost. It doesn't cost you nothing to come check us out.
I just subscribed, so literally right now.
If it's free,
My
it's
man.
for me.
There we go.
Guys, everyone, thank you so much for watching. You know where to find us every single Wednesday night. We are here on the Fins Talk Sports Network. You can go to our website, OUSFFpod.com. Sign up for Super League. Next week is the annual Dirtbag Dave show, where he's coming up with the topics. He's producing the show. It's going to be a disaster. Make sure it's not going to be a disaster. Chris, make sure you watch it. You get to learn who Dirtbag Dave is.
I will now.
He's not going to show up. He's not going to show up to his own show.
He's not going to show up. But guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. Follow on X and Instagram at OUSFFPOD. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.